Gary Snyder has a wonderful poem called Axe Handles. Gary was one of the writers that I took to China. And in this poem, he's talking about how his son has broken the handle of an axe and brings it to him to fix. And he says, when making an axe handle, it's good to find another axe handle close at hand. The poem is really about what we pass on from generation to generation. And I started this interview by quoting Oliver Wendell Holmes, "Man is an omnibus in which his ancestors ride." And I mentioned that I think a lot of people ride in our omnibus. But we are all a mixture of all of the people who have gone before us and of the people that we've met and the people who have been our parents and our siblings and our friends. And so I feel that as I have been the inheritor of many gifts from others, from my father, I inherited a sense of determination that nothing could defeat me, that I, with the help of God, can do whatever has to be done, whatever is called on me to do. I have that kind of self-reliance, confidence. I also learned from my father to love work and to take pride in what I do. I also learned from him to take responsibility. My father, even though during periods of his life, he did not live the kind of life he believed in, I never heard him excuse his behavior. I never heard him blame it on somebody else. And so I hope that I can always take responsibility for my mistakes. And I've made them. I made some serious mistakes. I've hurt other people. I've done things that I wish I hadn't done. But I also believe in the redemptive power of forgiveness. And so one of the things that has defined my life is a recognition of the gift from other people. I've been enriched by so many people, people long dead whose writings that I've read, prophets and spiritual leaders and teachers, scientists and humanitarians, people who have had insights into the world that as I've read them, either in their prose or in poetry, or as I've seen the dramas of Shakespeare and Chekhov, as I've read the poetry of others, I am greatly indebted to so many people. And one of the ways in which I want to acknowledge that indebtedness is to recognize that I have an impulse to pass on to others the things that I've been blessed to have. And that has defined so much of my life as a human being. Nothing was more important to me in my life. Nothing has been more important to me than to be a good husband, a good father, a good grandfather, a good friend, and a faithful follower of Jesus. And in doing that, I hope that my children and my grandchildren will know the passion I have for life, and a life that is lived fully and richly and lived in the cause of good things. I want them to know that my faithfulness, as we say, is stronger than the cords of death. But my love is too. I've been blessed with wonderful children. I think of Jenny and Anna, two extremely gifted women who are strong, who are loving, who are women of character and substance, each unique in her own way, wonderful mothers. Jenny, not blessed to be a literal mother, but has taken under her wing young men and sometimes young women to whom she has been a surrogate mother, and is at present a loving mother figure to people who sometimes don't have mothers. And I really honor the way that she and her husband have fulfilled that role, and also that role of within our family of aunts and uncles. Um, Bobby, my oldest son, as I've said to people, is as fine a human being as I could want for a son. He is loving and kind. He is, in many ways, as all of my children have some of the best characteristics of their mother. And I see her through them and through their lives. And I see it in the way that they are parents. I see it in the way that they are friends with others. I see it in the way that they love me and care for me. Juliana, my second daughter, is immensely gifted in arts, in the arts, as all my children are great lovers of the arts and have made the arts very much a part of their lives. Anna, as I call her, or Mouse, as I call her tenderly, has amazing gifts as a parent, as a teacher, as a dramaturg, and as a wife. I've been blessed with really great in-laws. My children's spouses have been very kind and loving to me. Maddie, my youngest, is just an absolutely wonderful father. I have so much respect and admiration for how much he wants his boys to be good men and good citizens and good, just good friends. Maddie is successful in what he does and strives to be a very professional person and strives to increase his learning, as all of my children do. All of my children love learning, and they're all also giving, loving people. They have produced wonderful grandchildren. I'm so grateful for each of my grandchildren, each of whom has, again, as I mentioned before, the gifts of their parents and their grandparents and people going back. Who knows how many strands of influence come from ancient times down through the bloodstream and the DNA to the gene pool to produce these wonderful people. I want all of them to know how proud I am of them, how much I love and admire and respect them, and how rich my life is because of them. I have to say that, as I said before, there are three main pillars in my life. One is my father, who helped me survive and who rescued me, and who, even though at times disappointed me, and even though at times did things that I did not admire and respect, at times in my life when it was most critical, he rescued me. It is by far no stretch of the imagination to think that I could have ended up in prison, where some members of my family did end up. I think because of my father, I didn't end up there. My conversion to Mormonism when I was 10 has been one of the three most significant foundations of my life. I can't imagine where I would be or who I would be without the refining influences of the Christian religion. And as I mentioned in the patriarchal blessing that I was given, that I should seek for the higher and finer things of life. My religion has led me to seek for those higher and finer things and to integrate them into my life. The third, of course, great pillar of my life was Ruth. It's impossible for me to adequately express the profundity of her influence on my life. Even to this very day, I feel her influence. As I was looking through family albums in preparation for finding what I could talk about, I saw so many evidences of her sacrificing, of her love, of her kindness, of her generosity, of her brilliance, of her fundamental goodness. I can think of no greater gift than that I am bound to this woman if I live as I know that I can and must beyond this life. That promise is one of the great promises of the Restoration. And I don't know how I could have been so fortunate as to have had her for a companion. As I said, her influence is indelible and unquestionably everlasting.